Good morning, students. Welcome back to Social Online Class. I am very happy to meet you in this session. How are you, students? I hope you all are fine and safe by the grace of God. Students, now which part we are learning? Have you remember? Very good. Now we are learning economics part. Is it? From economics part, which lesson now we are learning? Have you remember, students? Now we are learning economics lesson 1, cross domestic product and its growth. Is it? Students, in the previous class from this lesson, which topic we learned? Have you remember? We learned about cross domestic product definition and methods of GDP calculating. Is it? Students, have you remember the definition of cross domestic product? Excellent. Gross domestic product is the total value of outputs of goods and services produced within the geographical boundaries of a country. Is it? That means in a particular period of time, in a particular country's production is called gross domestic product. Is it? Then there are again two things are very important. That means produced in the country and produced during a time of period. These two things are very important for cross domestic product. Is it? That means produced in the country, that means in a particular country. Then produced during a time of period means that means the particular periods of times production only calculated to the GDP. For example, the previous year's production is not measured to or not calculated to present year's GDP. That means 2017's GDP is not calculated to 2018 GDP. Okay, then and also the GDP is measured both annually and quarterly. GDP is measured both, that means annually and quarterly. That means for example 2017's GDP is measured from the month of April 1st to March 31st 2018. Okay, that is written the GDP of 2017 to 18. Okay, 17 and 18. Okay, likewise estimate the GDP. And also 4 quarters like also there, that means annually and quarterly are measured the GDP. In the previous class I explained, is it first quarter, second quarter, third quarter and fourth quarter. In which month to which month first quarter denoted, students? Very good. April, May, June. Then second quarter? Excellent. July, August, September. Then third quarter? October, November, December. Then fourth quarter? January, February, March. Okay. Likewise, quarterly wise also estimated the GDP or measured the GDP. Okay. Then finally, we learned about the methods of GDP calculating. How many methods are there, students? There are three methods are there to calculate GDP. Is it? What are the three methods of GDP calculating? Very good. Expenditure methods, income approach, value added approach. That means expenditure method, income method and value added method. Expenditure method, that means the GDP is measured to adding the expenditure on all the final goods and services produced in the country during a specified period. Okay. Then income approach. That means this method looks the GDP from the perspective of the earning of men and women who are involved in producing the goods and services. Okay. Then third one is the value added approach. For example, a cup of tea served to you in a hotel is a final good. Some of the intermediate goods are added to the final goods. Is it? For example, for the production of tea, milk is intermediate goods, sugar is intermediate goods. Is it? These value is not added the GDP. Only the final goods items is added to the GDP. That means the sum of the value added by all the intermediate goods used in production gives us the total value of the final goods produced in the country. Okay. So this is also one of the methods of GDP to calculating. That means calculated the GDP. One of the method to calculated the GDP. Okay, these are the things we learned in the previous class, is it, students? And also, I gave some question answers. Did you learn, students? I hope you learned that all question answers. Those who are did not learn, day-to-day portions you have to learn. Okay, students? Okay, students. Now let us come forward to today's class. Okay. Today I am going to teach about the importance of GDP, limitations of GDP, and composition of gross domestic product. Today I am going to teach the importance of GDP, limitation of GDP, and the composition of gross domestic product. Okay, listen, students. First of all, I am going to teach about the importance of GDP. This is one of the 2 mark question in our book. Book by question, short answer. Second question may be already I gave, refer the guide. Then that questions only this topic. Okay, importance of GDP. There are some importance are there to GDP. The first one is study of economic growth. Okay, the first one is study of economic growth. That means through GDP we can learn about the condition, economic condition of one particular country. Okay, through GDP we can understand about the economic condition of, that means developing season areas of one country's economic condition. It is developed or non-developed. Through GDP we can identify. Okay, then the second one is the problems of inflation and deflation. Second one is the problems of inflation and deflation. Inflation in Tamil we are saying panaveekam. Deflation in Tamil we are saying panavatam. Okay, these problems we can identify through the problems of inflation and deflation through GDP. Okay, then the third one is comparison with developed countries of the world. The third importance of GDP is the comparison with developed countries of the world. Through, that means through GDP we can compare which countries are developing. That means through GDP we can compare our country is developed or not. But we can compare with other country. How much development we get with other country. We can compare through GDP to the development of countries in the economic condition. Okay, the economic condition development we can identify through this GDP. Okay, then the fourth one is estimate the purchasing power. The fourth one is the estimate the purchasing power. That means through GDP we can identify, we can found the purchasing power. How much purchasing power is there in a particular country, we can identify through this GDP. Okay, then the fifth one is public sector. Fifth one is public sector. That means to know about public sector. Through GDP, we know about public sector. Then the last one is guide to economic planning. Last one is guide to economic planning too. For example, through GDP, we can observe above all these things. If we identify all these things means we can put some planning to improve our economic condition. So the GDP is very, very important through these all things. Okay. Then the next one is limitations of GDP. Students, listen very careful. The next topic is limitations of GDP. Okay, listen here. The GDP is the most widely used measure of the state of the economy. GDP is the most widely used measure of the state of the economy. Then we should be aware of some of its limitation. There are 4 limitations are there in GDP. 4 important limitations are there in GDP. The first one is several important goods and services are left out of the GDP. The first one is several important goods and services are left out of the GDP. The second one is GDP measures only quantity but it does not measure the quality. Second one is GDP measure only the quantity, not quality. Okay. Then the third one is GDP does not tell us about the way income is distributed in the country. The GDP does not tell about the way of income is distributed in the country. Then the last limitation is that GDP does not tell us about the kind of life of people are living. GDP does not tell about the people, how the people are living, the living standard of people. The GDP does not tell the details. Okay, these are the limitations of GDP. Now, I am going to explain one by one. Okay, students. Now, listen here. The first limitations of the GDP is several important goods and services are left out of the GDP. Several important goods and services are left out of the GDP. Okay. Now listen here. The GDP includes only the goods and services sold in the market. Already I explained this. GDP includes only the goods market value of goods and services. Is it already I explained? Only the market value of goods and services only measured to GDP. The services provided by parents to the children is very important, but it is not included in the GDP. Listen, students, the services provided by parents. The parents are doing many services to their children, is it? That particular services is very, very important, but that particular services is not included in the GDP. Why it is not included in the GDP? Because it is not sold in the market. Is it? The services to the parents services to the children are not included the market. It is not sold in the market, so that is not does not included in the GDP. Likewise, clean air, healthy life, these all things are not market value, so these things are left out of the GDP. These things also left out of the GDP. Okay. Then the second one is GDP measures only quantity but not quality. Okay, the second one is GDP measures only quantity. Okay, but not it measure quality. For example, in the year 1970, the schools and banks did not permit the use of ballpoint pens. Ballpoint pens means you know about, is it? We are saying the lead pen. Okay, in the year 1970, any schools and banks are did not permit to use this ballpoint pen. Okay, why they are not permitting to use this ballpoint pen means it is very poor quality. Okay, this ballpoint pen's quality is very poor. Pen's quality is very poor quality in the year of 1970. Okay, but since then, not only has there been a sustainable increase in the quantity of ballpoint pens produced in India, but their quality has also improved a lot. The improvement in quality of goods is very important, but it is not captured by the GDP. Now listen, in 1970, the ballpoint pen quality is very poor, but nowadays these pens produced in improved, this quality is improved, but the improvement of the quality of goods is very important. It is not captured by the GDP. Okay, that is GDP measures only quantity but not quality. Okay, then the third one is GDP does not tell us about the way income is distributed in the country. The third one is GDP does not tell us about the way of income is distributed in the country. Okay, the income is distributed in the country, but which are the ways they are distributing that particular income, they won't say the details. Okay, for example, the GDP of a country may be growing rapidly, but income may be distributed unequally, that only small percentage of people, that means only small percentage of people only get benefited through this distribution of income in our country, in one country. It is one of the main problems. Then the last one is the GDP does not tell us about the kind of people are living. The GDP does not tell us about how the living standard of people. It won't say the kind of people are living. Okay, that means a high level of per capita real GDP can go hand in hand with very low health condition of the people. So this an undemocratic political system, because of undemocratic political system, some of the political problems also there in a country, is it? So, and also high pollution. These are some of the problems. These all things does not tell us about the kind of people are living. So because of the because of that, the poverty will occur in a country. That means the wealth is not distributed equally. The through GDP, they does not know about the living condition of the people, and also the undemocratic political system, and also a high pollution. The people get so many problems. So most of the people, if the get a suicide, that means the high suicide rate, that means the suicide rate also will increase. Okay, then estimation of GDP, how they are estimating the GDP. The Central Statistical Organization under the Ministry of Statistical Department keeps the records. That means the GDP's estimation is keeps one of the department. The GDP's estimation is keeps one of the department, that is CSO. That department's name is CSO. The abbreviation of CSO is the Central Statistical Organization under the Ministry of Statistical Department. Okay, this particular department only keeps the records of the estimation of GDP. Okay, then its processes, involves conducting an annual survey of industries and compilation of various indexes. For example, the index of industrial production and consumer price index. That means annual survey. This particular department take the annual survey of the industries. Okay, various industries through two important indexes. For example, the index of industrial production, IIP. IIP, the abbreviation of IIP is the index of industrial production, and CPI. CPI means consumer price index. Okay, these are the two important way to survey the annual reports. Okay, then can you understand, students? Shall we recall the points? Students, now we learned about importance of GDP and limitations of GDP. Is it? Now we learned about importance of GDP and limitation of GDP. Importance of GDP. This is one of the 2 mark question. Is it? What are the importance of GDP? The first one is study of economic growth. Is it? The first one is study of economic growth. The second one is problems of inflation and deflation. Fourth one is comparison with developed countries of the world. The fourth one is estimate the purchasing power. Fifth one is public sector. The last one is guide to economic planning. These are the importance of GDP. Is it? Then next we learned about limitations of GDP. Is it? Limitations. There are 4 important limitations of GDP is there. The first one is several important goods and services are left out of the GDP. Second one is GDP measures only quantity but not quality. Third one is GDP does not tell us about the way of income is distributed in the country. Last one is the GDP does not tell us about the kind of life people are living. Is it? The first one is several important goods and services are left out the GDP. Is it? That means only the goods and services sold in the market only added in the measured in the GDP. The parents are doing some of the services to their children. That particular services are not sold in the market. So that particular services are not included in the GDP. Okay. Secondly, GDP measures only quantity but not quality. That means, for example, I told about the ballpoint pen. Is it? Likewise, the poor quality means also the quality won't added in the measure in the GDP. Only the quantity only measure in the GDP. Is it? Then the third one is GDP does not tell us about the way of income distribution distributed in the country. That means the income is distributed unequally. The income is, this one country's income is not distributed equally. It is distributed unequally. So that also one of the limitations of GDP. Finally, the GDP does not tell us about the kind of people are living. That means it won't say the living condition of the people because of the undemocratic political system, because of the unequal distribution of the wealth, because of high pollution, the high suicide rate. That means suicide rates also increase. Is it? Can you understand, students? Then the next topic is composition of gross domestic product. Listen very careful, students. The next topic is composition of gross domestic product. Okay, listen, students. Indian economy is broadly divided into three sectors. Indian economy is divided into three sectors. The first one is agriculture and its allied activity. Second only industry, and the third one is services. That means primary, the Indian economy is divided into three sectors: primary sector, secondary sector, tertiary sector. Primary sector, secondary sector, and tertiary sector. Okay, this is one of the 5-mark question, very very important 5-mark question. So listen very careful. Okay, very easy, listen very careful. Okay, students, listen here. The first one is primary sector. The first one is primary sector. The agricultural sector is also known as primary sector. The other name of primary sector is agricultural sector. Agriculture and its allied activities are called primary sector. Can you understand, students? Agriculture sector is known as primary sector. That means the agricultural operations undertaken, agricultural based allied activities, they are included in primary sector. For example, the production of raw material such as cattle farm, fishing, mining, forestry, corn, coal, these all things are undertaken through this primary sector. Okay, these all things are undertaken to primary sector. Then the second one is the secondary sector. Second one is the secondary sector. Industrial sector is known as secondary sector. Okay, industrial sector is secondary sector. The goods and commodities are produced by transforming the raw materials. The goods and services, that means the goods and commodities are produced by transforming the raw materials. That is secondary sector. The important examples of secondary sectors are the steel industry, cotton textile industry, jute industry, sugar industry, cement industry, paper industries, petrochemical, automobile, and other small scale industries are included in the secondary sector. Okay. Then the third one is tertiary sector. Tertiary sector. The tertiary sector is known as service sector. The tertiary sector is known as service sector. The government, the scientific research, transport, communication, trade, postal and telegraph, banking, education, entertainment, healthcare, information technology, these all things are included to tertiary sector. Okay, these all things are included to tertiary sector. Okay, healthcare. Healthcare and information technology is very very important. Then in the 20th century, the economists began to suggest that traditional tertiary services could be further distinguished from quaternary or gynary service sectors. Quaternary means fourth stage, gynary means fifth stage. Okay, in the 20th century, the economists suggest that the traditional tertiary services could be distinguished from quaternary and quinary service sectors. That means fourth stage and fifth stage of service sectors. Okay, these are the composition of gross domestic product. Students, the composition of gross domestic product, it is very very important 5-mark question. I hope you understood about this question. Shall we recall the points, students? Students, now we learned about composition of gross domestic product. Okay, now we learned about composition of gross domestic product. It is one of the important 5 mark question. Indian economy is broadly divided into 3 sectors. Is it? What are the 3 sectors? Primary sector, secondary sector, and tertiary sector. Okay, primary sector, secondary sector, and tertiary sector. The first one is primary sector. Is it? Primary sector is otherwise called, very good, agricultural sector. Primary sector is otherwise called agricultural sector. Okay, agriculture and its allied activities are included into primary sector. Can you understand, students? Agriculture and its allied works are included into primary sector. For example, the production of raw materials such as cattle farm, fishing, mining, forestry, corn, coal, these all works are included, undertaken to agricultural, the primary sector or agricultural sector. Okay, then second one is secondary sector or industrial sector. Listen, students, industrial sector is otherwise called the secondary sector. The goods and commodities are produced by transforming the raw materials. The important, that means, for example, the important industries of secondary sectors are steel, iron and steel industry, cotton textile industry, jute, sugar, cement, paper, petrochemical, automobile, and other all small scale industries are included in the secondary sector. Then the last one is tertiary sector or service sector. The tertiary sector is known as service sector. It includes government scientific research, transport, communication, trade, postal and telegraph, banking, education, entertainment, healthcare, and information technology. These all things are included into tertiary sector or service sector. Okay, can you understand, students? These all things we learned in this class. Students, the continuation of this lesson I will teach the next class. Okay, I hope you understood these all things from today's class. Also, one 5 mark question is very, very important. That also you learn. Okay, now we can mark the question answer. Students, all are take a book. All are take a book, students. Short answer. Short answer. First question, define national income. Already I gave. Second question, what is meant by gross domestic product? That also I gave. Then the third question, listen, students, write the importance of gross domestic product. Importance of gross domestic product. Already I gave this question to refer the guide. You have to refer the guide. Otherwise, in the book also, this question's answer is there. Page number 295. Students, page number 295, the same answer only in the guide also given. Okay, those who are studied in the guide, no problem. Otherwise, you mark in the book. Page number 295. Page number 295. Importance of GDP heading. Importance of GDP heading. 6 points are there. Is it? Study of economic growth, problems of inflation and deflation, comparison with developed countries of the world, estimate the purchasing power, study of public sector, guide to economic planning. These are the importance of GDP. Okay, that question you have to mark. Then the fourth question, per capita income, in the last class I gave, and also in the last class I gave the fifth question also. Define the value added approach with the example. These 5 questions I gave. Sixth and seventh question, and after completing this lesson I will give. Okay, students. Then Roman number 5, detail answer. First question, briefly explain various terms associated with measuring of national income. That question already I gave. Is it, students? Then second question, what are the methods of calculating gross domestic product and explain it? That question also in the previous class portion already I gave. Today's question is third question. Okay, today's exercise is Roman number 5, third question. Write about the composition of GDP in India. 5 mark question, important question. All detailed question also very, very important from this lesson. Okay, students. The third question, write about the composition of GDP in India. Write about the composition of GDP in India. Page number 295. Page number 295 and 296. Okay, page number 295 and 296. Composition of 295. I'll take page number 295. Composition of gross domestic product. Composition of gross domestic product. Indian economy is broadly divided into three sectors. Is it primary sector, secondary sector, then third one is first one is primary sector, second one is secondary sector, and the third one is tertiary sector. Is it that fully you have to mark? Listen, Indian economy is broadly divided into three sectors. From there to that primary sector, first point fully. Second point, secondary sector, industrial sector, that point fully. Then turn the next page, 296, page number 296, tertiary or service sector. From there, starting to tertiary sector is known as service sector, which includes government scientific research, transport communication, trade, postal and telegraph, banking, education, entertainment, healthcare and information technology, etc. Then the next side given, in the 20th century, economists began to suggest that traditional tertiary services could be further distinguished from quaternary and quaternary service sectors. Up to that quaternary service sectors, you have to mark from this question. Okay, for this question from page number 295, Indian economy. From there to the next page, quaternary service sector. Up to quaternary service sector you have to mark. Okay, can you understand, students? The continuation of this lesson I will teach the next class. Day-to-day portion you have to learn, students. And also, students, next week you are going to write the home test. That means like half-yearly exam, you are going to write the home test like half-yearly exam. Okay, 100 mark question. Listen very careful, students. 100 mark questions are there. The question already in the interactive session I informed you, like public exam pattern only, this test question pattern. Okay, this test question pattern like public exam question. So you have to learn well, and also caption questions are not there in your new syllabus, new book. So instead of caption, 8 more questions are there. Okay, 8 mark, 2 questions they ask, 1 question you have to write. Okay, students, you have to prepare well, you have to study well and write the exam well. Okay, students, the continuation of this lesson I will teach the next class. We will meet the next class. Thank you, students.